Hello there! Welcome back to Vintage Story. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We still have a few days until the bees swarm, so how about we do what I promised a few days ago, and we'll make some gelatin from expanded foods. So that means another segment of Cooking with ArcWolf. Let's get onto it. So, the gelatin is from expanded foods, so we're going to need a cauldron, and you can use the small one like I have here, or the large one, and we're going to need... Well, it's a multi-step process. We need bones and water to make the first part. We have to make bone broth. So that's 20 units of water, or 20 liters of water, and 20 bones. And we're going to cook that down into broth. So once that's done, we can then cook it down into pre-gelatin. The way we do pre-gelatin is pretty much the same way, the bone broth plus bones. And once we have the gelatin done, we're going to turn it into honey gelatin. And then, since it is now spring and some of the berries are actually starting to grow, these have a few days still, but I can find some berries around here. We will make some fruit bread with the gelatin. And that's going to be very good for both feeding us, but also healing us. And as a special add-on, the sandwiches mod allows you to cut berry bread and make berry bread sandwiches. All right, that's done. So we can take the... We gotta put the cauldron down, I think, so we can grab the bone broth out of it. Pick the cauldron back up, put it on, add the bone broth. Now, it cooks down 20 liters of water plus 20 bones becomes 10 bone broth. So you do lose half of the water, but then for the next step to make the pre-gelatin, we need 10 bones. Yeah, the pre-gelatin reduces down to 0.1 liter, so not per, but it progressively cooks down. That's what I'm trying to say, or should I say failing to say. So we're going to get that going. We are going to need more bone. I've got plenty of it here. We are also going to need more water. We should get enough pre-gelatin to make 25 gelatin, but we could only make we could only make 20 gelatin at a time in the small cauldron. All right, now we got 2.5 liters of pre-gelatin. So pick that up, put that back in there, and then we can put 2 liters of that in. We're gonna want 20 liters of water, so I gotta go grab more water. When I finish building the next house, we're going to have a water source in the kitchen, so I don't have to run around to get water. And we need 20 bones, so 2 liters of pre-gelatin, 20 water, and 20 bone. And that makes our raw gelatin. And then we have a little bit of pre-gelatin left. It does last a while. I do have a little bit of pre-gelatin in here from an earlier craft, so I'm going to combine them if I can actually get up the stairs. There we go. And then I want to grab these honeycombs. And do I have berries? I have 2 black currants. That is not enough for what I need, although I can grab some spelt because we're going to be making bread. And we're going to need some flour for that. And that's almost the raw gelatin done. It made me lie. There we go. Okay. So now we have raw gelatin. The raw gelatin is, of course, used to make, apparently, fish gelatin. No, we're going to do fruit gelatin. Or specifically, we're going to do honey gelatin. I should be able to find... Right, so there are a few options. You can use honey, which is what we're going to do, or you can use fruit. If you use fruit, you can either use juice and 1 liter of water, or syrup, which you get by reducing the fruit twice. So you boil off the, the juice. So you juice, in this case, red currants, for example. So you juice the red currants, you'll have red currant juice. You can then boil that down in the cauldron, same way we did to make the broth, and you'll make syrup. Syrup lasts longer, but it's of course a lot less. But then you can use syrup to make candied vegetables, which is, candied fruits, which last a long time and actually work in berry bread also. Fruit bread. Okay, but what we're going to do here is, first off, we're going to put the bucket down. If we take our honeycombs, if we holding over the bucket, is it shift or is it, yeah, shift, and then hold down the right mouse button, we will squeeze the honeycombs, or squeeze the honey out of the honeycombs. This is, of course, a lot less efficient than doing it with the fruit press. But we can then do this, that, and we're going to need a bit more water, I believe. I think honey counts as juice and not... Yeah, honey counts as juice. For the purpose of this recipe, not as syrup. So we don't have enough honeycombs to make more, but this is going to be perfectly fine. We're going to just cook this down into the honey gelatin, and while that is cooking, I have 8 spelt flour here. Right, going to do 6 at a time. I'm going to need more water. This is why we're going to have the water source in the kitchen next time, so I don't have to keep running out to get more water. We're just going to turn this into spelt bread, or spelt dough. Let's get these ovens preheated since we're about ready to make our bread. Alright, honey gelatin is done. You see it gives you 20 saturation of fruit and 3.5 HP. So that's pretty good. So just doing this, it will give you fruit dough. Of course, we could have included egg and milk in the dough process so that we'd get dairy, but we don't have milk, so that's kind of a moot point. We'll do a bit of grapes, bit of red grapes, bit of cranberry, and a bit of green grapes. So now we have our fruit dough, which we just pop in here. And they don't have broken textures anymore, which is awesome. They actually look nice. That's going to cook down, and then we have fruit bread. Now, the cool thing about watching the bread cook is you can actually see it rise as it cooks. And also, I could have sworn it's already gotten darker. Yep, you see? You actually see it rise a little bit as it cooks. And there we go. Now it's baked. Actually, it looks a bit like a not fruit cake. Oh, I forget what they're called now. We're going to leave 2 in there just because I want to show you what they look like when they're charred, what their stats are. But if we just look at the fruit bread quickly, 160 grain plus 140 grain. Yeah, okay, so 160 plus 140, so that's 300 grain and 650 fruit, plus it heals for 3.5 HP. With the sandwiches mod, we can slice the bread down. Now we've got 4 slices of fruit bread, which we can then make a sandwich with using, well, we could put jam on there. We can make preserves. So that is the syrup that I mentioned earlier, which we get by reducing the juice plus the same fruit from the syrup. So in this case, again, currants. And that'll make a preserve, which we could then use on the sandwiches, which is another fruit option. We don't necessarily want to use more fruit for that, though. If we've got fruit bread, which already provides fruit, we might include veggies and meat, so we can get just about everything. If we had cheese, we can toss cheese on there too. We don't have it. Okay, and then charred fruit bread. I don't usually like charring it, but it does double the shelf life. It gives you a little less grain in this case. That's 30 less, and that's 35 less. So we went from 300 to 245 or so. 235. It's easier math to actually just add it. and 488 fruit, and only heals 2.6 HP, but it still heals. But if we go down here, and I do have the shelves mod, so this gives us a shelf specifically for bread and bread items. But you see on the bread shelf, the regular fruit bread lasts for 67 days, and the charred bread lasts for 134 days. So charred bread does last quite a bit longer. So there we go. That's gelatin, honey gelatin, and fruit bread. Probably one of the better foods for satisfying your fruit need, especially during winter, because it lasts a while. It has gotten dark, and it's only been 3 or 4 days. So we still have another 3 or 4 days until the bees swarm. So I'm going to go kill time, and hopefully we'll have bees before not too long. I'm literally finding beehives everywhere now. We've got the one that I'm collecting. We've got another one here. We've got one in this tree, which is, by the way, is the first time I've seen a beehive on a pine tree. I knew there had to be something wrong because I wasn't finding any beehives. And, yeah. I mean, it's kind of obvious, isn't it? Although, after cranking back up the ambient volume, I remembered why I turned it down. Especially considering we live right on a river here. So I hear the ambient water sounds of it sloshing around consistently because it's ambient. And it gets very annoying after a very short amount of time. So when I'm not looking for bees, ambient sound is getting turned all the way back down. And then when I am looking for them, I'll turn it back up. I'm not re-recording that whole segment, but next time we do cooking with ArcWolf, I've got a chef hat. I have never actually seen bees swarm. So I'm going to just sort of sit back, hopefully catch it on camera, and maybe actually see them swarm. I don't know if they're going to do the little literal swarm like what happened when I accidentally broke the hive and they'll, move into this skep, or if it's just going to be a magic pop and the bees are in the skep. So yeah, I'm just going to stand here and watch. We have less than a day, so hopefully it happens sooner rather than later because I do not have any extra food on me. But if I'm sitting down, I shouldn't be burning that much calories. I didn't have to wait that long. It happened. There was no special effect. It just sort of poofed, and now the bees have moved over to the skep. So, we need to have a free backpack slot. I've already done that. I've moved one of the backpacks out. We need to press Control so we can scroll over to the open backpack slot, and then right-click to pick up the skep with the bees in it. And now we can go over to our home with the bees. Now, I think bees can spread from the ceramic hive to another hive, but I don't remember. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to put down a bunch of flowers around this skep, make another skep, so that we can populate the ceramic hive with them and always keep one skep around our base for emergencies. So again, we're going to put this skep on a pair of posts so I don't have to worry about raccoons. Can I not stand on that? Nope. And now they have no flowers over here. So we're going to need to go plant a bunch of flowers. I did go out and collect some a little earlier, so that's going to be easy enough. So now this will update in a little bit of time to say that, it's detecting all these flowers and how long until this one is ready to swarm. Yeah, we just click a populated skep onto the ceramic hive to get it started. So we're going to go grab a little bit of reeds, make ourselves another skep, and set that up. And now we are officially beekeepers. Let's see if it updated. Yep, 23. I did not plant 23 flowers. Maybe it's counting the grape bushes? That'd be good. So, your bees will produce a comb in 5 days. I think it has to produce a comb first, and then it can swarm. So we're going to just make another skep. Put that one there. And eventually this will spread to that also. And then we can start filling them into our ceramic hives. And then once we have the ceramic hives, we can start working on making the Langstroth hives. And those take hive panels, which are whatever wood you're going to use, plus beeswax in order to make the hive panels, which are then needed to make all the parts of the hive, including the frames, which we need for the future honeycombs. And we are going to leave that other hive over in the tree. I think I mentioned this earlier, or last episode, but that's going to be an emergency beehive. If for any reason we ever lose our skeps and we don't have any bees over here, it'll take a little bit of time, but we can get a new skep from those bees so long as it's actually warm enough out, like it is right now in the spring, summer, and early autumn. As a bit of a follow-up, I mentioned I was going to test out a few things with automating the quern here. And I tried doing a water stream to push the output into a hopper over here. And unfortunately, at least with the lime from grinding down chalk, if it goes into the water and spends too long in the water, it dissolves. And so the hopper never picked it up. So instead, what we're going to do is just this. We've got the 3 hoppers on these corners, and because this elbow chute is here, the quern cannot output towards the chute and the chest. So we only need the 3. That does mean that unfortunately every time the quern processes, 1 out of every 4 times it's going to fail and have to restart, but we can automate this. We can just leave everything sitting here and it will eventually fill up these chutes, hoppers, sorry. And yeah, I mean, that's 12 stacks that we can automate before I have to worry about it. And the chest, okay, that holds 16. But you get the idea. So we can automate this a bit. There we go. See, that one failed. It did not output anything this way. It didn't put it into the chute. It didn't put it into the chest. It just didn't do anything. So this is the best I've got for now. But it works. Especially for something that's automated that I can just set and forget. Well, it just started bucketing outside and thundering, so I'm going to call it an end here. On the off chance I lose power, I don't lose my progress. So it's a little bit of a short episode today, but, well, I spent a lot of time waiting for the bees. Until next time, though, thank you for joining me today. Hope you've all had a wonderful day. Thank you to my channel members for your support, and I will see you next time. Later.